Good evening, good day, everyone. We are back. I am VHS Jason Roy Gaston, and we are back in the Alien franchise to the
Yes, we
super happy
are.
fun time one.
Oh, it's the most funnest one of all. It's the super positive, peppy, upbeat Alien 3. 3 times the fun, 3 times the laughter.
Or Alien Cubed, as
Alien Cube, yes.
as they kind of went with the stupidest marketing font ever. Made zero sense.
Well, because it
Alien
has
Cube.
length, it has width, and I guess a little bit of depth.
Oh, yeah, that's the questionable
little
part.
bit, yeah.
It's okay in 2 dimensions. Getting in the third one's a bit iffy. Now, mate, I was anticipating this movie quite a lot back in 1992. I was very much looking forward to it. Obviously, we had all lived the gloriousness of Aliens and probably watched it 30 times a piece before this thing even dropped its first trailer. But the alarm bells were early on in this first trailer. This was tonally very different than what we got last time. But I was still excited as hell. And I was there opening weekend in 92, getting ready for Ripley's next adventure. What was your first touching base with this film?
Believe it or not, this was the first Alien movie I saw in theaters. I had just gotten my driver's license, so I went to town and I watched Alien 3, and I'm just going to drop a major spoiler right here. I liked this movie. And then I was shocked to find out other people didn't like this movie. And I thought, is it just me, or is there something wrong with all of them? Well, I have discovered that it's a little bit of both, but I still have a soft spot for this movie.
Sometimes people need to catch up a little bit. And I will say, I was influenced with the people I went to go see it with. And the people I went to go see it were once friends, but they were the casual moviegoer. They didn't really care about films too much. It was whatever was playing. And they didn't enjoy it. And it kind of made me think I didn't enjoy it. That obviously changed when I got to see this on video a few months later and went, I really like the angle. And I suppose I was going from my emo phase too. So this kind of fit into the melancholy kind of everything's dark and depressing. But yeah, I was a fan by late 92 onwards. Why did you like it though initially? What struck you initially that everyone else went pee-woo, but you went, I like it?
Well, as you know, the first Alien movie had an alien. The second movie had a boatload of aliens. And of course, you know, me and my friends would always joke, what are they going to do for Alien 3? Is it going to be aliens driving tanks? I mean, how are they going to make it even better? And I thought that they happened upon a very simple solution to that. Drop an alien and Ripley somewhere where they don't have weapons. Basically put them back in the Middle Ages. And I really liked that idea. I also think that this movie has some very strong performances, most notably from Sigourney Weaver. I think Charles S. Dutton is fantastic in this movie. I really wish we saw him more often. I actually thought that he'd passed away a couple of years ago, but no, the man is still with us. Charles Dance is in this movie. Another spoiler, you and I actually saw 2 different cuts of this movie. We saw the theatrical version, and then we saw the director's cut, sometimes called the industrial cut.
It's something worth diving into too, because the film you saw
certainly will. Yes,
the film you saw wasn't the original intent. It's kind of a hybrid. So we were talking about this the other day.
Yes, but Paul McGann, better known in circles around here as the 8th Doctor from Doctor Who, actually has like a much bigger part in that movie, because I remember thinking, oh, it's Paul McGann, it's the Doctor. Where did Paul McGann go? He disappeared. Oh, well, I guess the alien got him. No, he just like literally disappears out of the theatrical cut. Here, you find out what happened to him, and it's good. It's really good. Now, I will say that the theatrical cut is superior in some ways, and the industrial cut is superior in other ways. But we will discuss that. But yeah, I like it. I thought the ending was also very emotional, so I like it.
Well, in the initial inception, and it is still credited as written by Vincent Ward. Now, Vincent Ward is a New Zealand director. Was a great New Zealand director at the time who got the opportunity, and he had basically the same concept, the same script with a couple other changes. In his version, the world was made out of wood.
Yes, which I think is fascinating.
Which was a cool idea. So But they got well deep in production. I even think they were like this far away from actual principal photography where they came the idea. And they brought a very young, very successful commercial director, David Fincher, on board to direct this. And if you don't know, it was a troubled production. David Fincher distanced himself quite a lot from this movie. In fact, last time we talked about Aliens, I thought it was an Alan Smithy directed film, which it is not. It is by David Fincher. So yeah, I was wrong again. But yeah, it had a bit of an interesting and a problematic production. And for me, like you, I went, well, sometimes troubled productions still make good things. Now, sure, David Fincher hates it, but I didn't care. I liked it. All right. And I liked what he brought to it because there was some excellent David Fincher camera work going on here, and his character and the way he directs actors is all display in this film. Because you spoke about performances, this is without doubt Sigourney Weaver's best performance of Ripley in the entire franchise, and I'll stand by that.
I disagree, but I do think it was a strong performance.
I think it's her best, and I know the next one's coming up, and she gets to do some really interesting things in the next one. But I do think what she had to go through and how she played it, because she's not 100% like innocent in this either. No. Like, she's actually quite problematic early on. She could have let them know straight off the bat, but we'll get into that. But yeah, and Charles Dance, God, I love Charles Dance. Whatever happened to Charles? He passed away, didn't he?
Charles Dance? No.
Yeah. Was he was
around? He was on Game of Thrones for the longest
time. But I thought okay, great. No one's dead, thankfully.
Now I have to Google it because now I'm scared.
Because when you said Charles Dance, I'm thinking, I know he's still around, but I don't know about Charles Dance. But
Charles Dance, still alive, 77 years old, and he's very upset that you questioned his mortality.
I'm sorry, Charles. Is Charles Dance the guy, the villain from Last Action Hero?
Yes.
Is it?
I
think it is.
So, yeah.
With the happy face glass eye, which was creepy out.
Yeah,
which was pretty great.
Dramatically underrated movie.
Lars Henriksen. Well, at least we get somebody else besides Sigourney Weaver returning to this film, although be it nothing but an extended cameo.
Hey, at least he kind of survived a little bit.
I want to get into straight away. We had a discussion about the opening of this film. Now, not talking about the credit sequence, which, love it or hate it. Yep, we see Newt and Hicks and the complete emotional win from the last movie completely wiped out in the credit sequence. But it's how the alien gestates is one of the big differences. I mean, we open up on your version, if I remember, with them herding cows, correct?
Yes, they're herding oxen. Yes.
And in your version, that's how the alien gestates inside an oxen.
Yes, that's the industrial cut is what we're
That's the industrial cut. And the theatrical cut, it gestates in a dog. All right.
Yes. And if I recall right, you said that you enjoyed the version where it gestates inside the ox. And I said, no, I actually think the one where it gestates inside the dog is better.
I do like it's an ox because and I think they changed it obviously in post-production because the way the alien moves is very, it's not even really dog-like. It's its own kind of thing, but it's probably closer to a cat. Yeah. But I did like the idea because I like the idea of it, Jason, because it's the fact of the matter, how else did they eat? I love the fact that it was also an indicator that they were maintaining society, and this is how they did it. That's how they got their meat and all that kind of thing. So it seemed a bit more natural. However, I never saw the dog be face hugged, and
well, you saw the aftermath of the face hug because no, you saw where they find Spiky the dog and he's got the marks around his face and he's like,
like most acid burns.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that the version with the dog is more effective, and it's because the alien emerges during Hicks and Newt's funeral. And to me, I think that a dog that was barking and whining and suffering during this big emotional scene was way more effective than some dead ox that's just hanging from a chain going.
Yeah.
I just found it a lot more visceral, a lot more
it was
kinetic.
edged together really nicely that moment.
It was, and so that's why I got to give the theatrical cut the win
Thumbs
on
up.
this one. I just didn't think that the Ox worked for me.
Well, what it does do, that scene especially, it does really tell the audience very strongly the themes of this film, and it is about life and death and existence, and all those big heady stuff is being dealt with this, because you're on a planet where people are just whiling away. It's barely in existence for them.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing of
Yes.
substance. They turn to religion to be able to kind of maintain and give themselves any sense of purpose or hope. And what I also love about that, it's not also agreed upon as well. You have factions within that planet, some who are highly religious, some who are who are working for the corporation and just trying to manage it. And to throw Ripley into that scenario, someone who has been to hell and back, it's a really interesting choice, wasn't it? And it plays out real well because she's got to think on her feet. But she's not exactly angelic in the beginning of this, I think.
No, she's not. As you said, she's very problematic because she's almost behaving like the company at this point. She's only giving information on a need to know basis, and she doesn't think anybody needs to know, even whenever she pretty much confirms that she's suspicious that the alien is there. She could have said, hey, yeah, there could be a problem here. But no, she keeps her mouth shut, and more people die as a result. Because this little cute guy is walking around, and he is kind of cute, isn't he?
I will give him thumbs up for the new design, because it is one of the great things what they do with the aliens, and they really establish it in this film, was the fact that if an alien gestates inside a being, that it takes on some of the characteristics
yes.
of that being.
Yes, I want to see more of that, because I actually have a comic book over there on my shelf called Batman versus Alien. It's a thing. And in the book, the big boss alien that Batman has to fight at the end gestates inside of an alligator. So you have this gigantic reptilian, multi-jawed alligator alien that's fighting Batman. And I know people are out there rolling their eyes right now thinking that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Guys, it's Batman fighting an alien alligator. It's the coolest thing ever.
I'm in. I want to see that.
It's
I want to read that.
It is fantastic.
The idea of putting him in, you know what, is just this movie it's almost made 10 years too early in my mind, because it's such an interesting take. It's such here, we'll give you the big bombastic, one of the great action films of the decade and all that. And rather than trying to overtop it, they did the most brilliant thing, which the audience wasn't ready for, and that is to take all the weaponry away. Yes. And like you said right at the beginning, you love that. And so did I. I really love that aspect, because it amps up the tension and the possibilities of what they can do right up there. Because what do you got? Sticks, fire, thankfully you got a lot of molten metal. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty brilliant move, honestly, because, I mean, how do you follow up an army of aliens? You can't. You just have to change your approach. I wish that the movie had done more with that, would have seen Ripley and the prisoners be more inventive, maybe seeing some of that prison technology where they make their own weapons out of whatever they can find. I think that probably would have been neat. This movie is good. I will say, out of the original trilogy, it is my least favorite. But
so far, yeah.
That being said, well, out of the original trilogy, I didn't say anything about the ones that are coming after. But that being said, it is a virtual wildfire of missed opportunities. I will lay some at the feet of the writer. I'll lay some at the feet of the director, and I'll lay some at the feet of the studio. I think that this was a perfect storm of bureaucracy and stubbornness is what made this movie not be potentially the most unique possible. Because if you take a step back and look, Alien, Aliens, and Alien 3, each one of them have such a wildly different tone about them.
Mhm.
Alien is, it's siege horror. Aliens is action horror. And then this one is very somber horror. This is one of those movies where I saw somebody call it the "I'm dead and I know it" horror.
I was going
And
to call
I
it
thought,
Fatalist.
yeah, Fatalist is great too. But honestly, if they would have just stopped here, or at least stopped with Ripley's story here, I think that this movie would have been remembered a lot more fondly than what it is now. As it is now, it's kind of like the middle child between one of the greatest movies ever made and what is considered one of the worst Aliens movies ever made. And now nobody ever talks about it because everybody talks about that next one that's coming up.
I've heard the next one coming up is referred to European trash. Wow. Ouch.
Ouch. I don't know why it would be European trash, because I don't know.
The director.
That's probably because the alien pops out going, mais oui, bonjour. I put the baby in your throat with my little starfish. Mon chéri, follow me. And then it just kind of chases
turning
after
the
Ripley
alien into Pepe Le Pew.
It chases after Ripley doing this. Oh, mon chéri. Oh, shoot the door, shoot the door, shoot the window. I don't care.
That figure is actually movie accurate too. It is from that movie, I believe.
This is from Alien Resurrection.
Yeah.
I don't care. I love it.
No, it is. It's film that
great.
we're making jokes of that film's expensive. You've got the right figure.
Yeah, I love this figure though. It's great. I kind of wish I had one of all of the different alien designs, but you know what? If this is the only one I can get, that's fine.
So be it. You know, this film in many ways really is its victim of its own slowness in a way, because if the first half of the film it is trying to establish we're getting into the politics of everything and everything's a slow reveal, she's not giving up the ghost, but the film, I think it's got 40 when it gets to about 45 minutes left, really gets into great territory for me is once they do have to work together. Once they have to figure out a plan on how to stop this alien, this movie really works. And as you said, what it made me feel was pining for what else could have been done in that hour beforehand if she had able to just come out with the doctor and go, yeah, look, here's an alien. Yes, you saw that burn mark. That's because the thing's got acid blood and da-da-da. Because he was ready for the buy-in. He was ready for the buy-in.
Oh, hey, we found one of those little starfish things she was talking about. This could be important.
Yeah, absolutely. So it does make it pine for that, because when that happens, when they have to kind of figure out a plan and work together, it's great. And I tell you, going back to the actors, they got such great character actors to populate the prisoners, though, didn't they?
They did.
Every actor in that.
Postwaite is there. I love Pete Postwaite.
And very early on, Pete Postwaite, I think he was in My Left Foot before that. I think
he was really really just a great actor. I loved him. Yeah,
he was fantastic. But the guy, the warden, I can't remember. I've seen him in the English warden, the kind of the pudgy guy.
Yes, I know exactly who you're talking about.
Fantastic actor, and he did so well. And he's offsider, playing the little Weasley kind of like offsider, like like what's his name from Police Academy?
80
Proctor.
80 something. Yeah.
Either way,
let's see.
Great actor.
Brian Glover was the warden.
Yes. Brilliant. Great actor. Really brought a presence to the film. And I do stand by. I think Sigourney Weaver, what she has to deal with here, the way that she kind of plays the first half an hour as a villainous type. You know, even sleeping with the doctor, quite predatory in a way. Yeah, she knew he wasn't going to say no.
Well, it was all manipulation there.
Yeah,
If I may, right now, I think that this movie, between the industrial cut and the theatrical cut, reveals two things that can be both a positive and a negative. A positive for the director's cut is that it really gets more into these characters and it really gets you to know them. I've already said Paul McGann's character, the crazy guy who keeps going on and on about a dragon and then disappears in the director's cut. Well, he becomes fascinated with the alien in the director's cut, and they actually trap the alien at one point, and it seems like everything's fine, but he goes down and he opens the door and lets it out because he's almost worshiping it at that point. It's kind of a red dragon kind of thing. There are other things. There's an attempted sexual assault in the theatrical cut. Very very uncomfortable to watch, especially since nothing really comes of it. But in the industrial cut, the two men who assault Ripley are seriously injured in the fire, and she helps one of them. And it's almost like that moment of empathy between the two of them, because, you know, he's suffering and she helps him. Eventually he turns around and saves the entire group. And you can argue, well, it's because Ripley was kind to somebody who was, you know, not very kind to her. The trade-off, however, is that it takes an already slowly paced movie and turns it absolutely glacial. Just almost everything comes to a stop for almost an hour in the director's cut. So for that reason, if you're wondering which version I recommend, theatrical. The theatrical cut is better. And I will also say this, the sound in the director's cut is messed up. Messed up. It was so distracting. It was so distracting.
That was not sanctioned by David Fincher. Had no involvement in that industrial cut or director's cut at all. It was I think it was really just designed as a DVD special feature at its time.
Perhaps.
Because it was released as part of the giant Alien quadrilogy box set, which was a big deal in the DVD release period.
I have
you
that.
probably
I had no idea that was on.
You know,
it's right over there.
Literally the icon from this movie is on the front cover, like the alien shape, I believe, the quadrilogy. You grab it. And I do remember it being a special feature. So I think, honestly, there wasn't a lot of attention to detail. Okay, mine looks different. Mine looks absolutely different.
You know what? This is not the quadrilogy. This is the legacy. So wrong box set. I was going to say, I did not think that was in there.
Yeah. Either way, yes, the film works. You know, Fincher was probably, in hindsight, the right guy to do it. They just didn't know who they were dealing with.
No.
And I'm sure 3 years later, when they sat in the cinema and they saw Seven, they must have gone, damn, we should have just let him do what he wanted.
Should have just left him the heck alone.
Yeah.
We would have gotten a much more interesting, probably a lot more psychologically scary movie. That's for sure.
Maybe. I really love Ripley's journey here, because at some point she has to really take on board the fact that she is going to help these people. And even the moment when she sees it gestating inside her body with the scan. That is a great scene, because you feel it. You feel all the emotions that she's going through. I'm going through them with her. And it's wonderful, you know. And I particularly like the end of this film. I do. I know
I do with it too. That's another thing that the industrial cut does that I can't stand is that, I'm sorry, and spoiler alert for a 30-year-old movie, when Ripley does the Nestea plunge into the furnace, I loved when the queen like popped out of her and she grabbed it and held it as she went into the fire. I loved that. It was just kind of like a final FU to the alien. Like, symbolic. It was symbolic. And that's not there in the industrial cut. She just goes, poof. And it's so underwhelming. It
is so underwhelming, because at least with her holding it, it's kind of her, you know, embracing her fate, embracing the finality of the situation. And us as audience, we know it's over.
Yes.
You know, we know it's over.
It's over until the next movie, yes.
Bringing in Bishop 2.0, or
she
who
was
you think
dead, but she
is the inventor of Bishop.
Okay, so I was always confused about this, because I don't know. I guess it's just the way that it's shot or something. So that the Bishop that shows up was actually an android then, right?
Yeah, he was bullshitting. He was lying. He was saying that he created Bishop, but he did not. He was a plant by the corporation because he gets hit with that thing. And remember, he goes like that.
Uh-huh.
Because he's putting his face back on his robot body.
Okay. See, they made that so hard to see.
Yeah,
I've never been. I always thought that like he was just like his head had been split open or something. But I don't know. See, to me, it works both ways. I don't know.
Yep. So overall, I think this deserves its spot in the franchise. Really, oh yes, I mean that was in the trailers, and it worked great in the scene. You know,
those are some
and
really
it's so much more
juicy
powerful
animals
in the movie because this is our first indicator that she has been inseminated.
Yes,
because he doesn't take her out.
No, he does not eat her.
He does not eat her. He does not do the fist punch to the head with his teeth.
No.
That's his style, isn't it? Open the thing and then just when you think he's biting it, fist punch to the head with teeth.
It's like a frog.
It's all over. Well, okay. Now you watch the film and you see it. Are you still bothered by it? And I am. I can't say that I'm not. I'm not as angry as other people. But Newt and Hicks not being there as part of this franchise any further, except for the film for what it is. I love the film for what it is, but I can't help but think all these years later that damn, what would have been their next story? Just like that director of District 13,
Neil Blanc,
who had planned on doing a sequel recently. You remember this story, Jason?
Yeah, it would have been amazing.
Yeah, it was kind of alternate like sequel to Aliens, and the artwork looked amazing. Everyone was on board. Just couldn't get it off the ground. But it deserves its spot in this franchise of being a good film, because I'm going to be honest with you, it doesn't get much better from here. Even though this is not the best Alien film, for what I've seen so far in the Alien franchise, it doesn't get much better than this, and that's a bad thing to say.
My take on Newt and Hicks is that for me, I think that it's Alien 3's biggest sin is that it basically renders aliens and all of the emotional wins and triumphs that Ripley went through in that movie. It renders them all pointless. It does. It just renders everything pointless. I don't think it would have been that difficult to rewrite the movie where it was just her pod that went into the escape pod, and the other ones, we tracked this other escape pod, and it's out there. The company's going to pick it up. That would have been fine. Then Ripley would have had something to look forward to, and then bang, emotional punch. Oh, I'm got one inside me. I don't even think it would have been that hard to have Ripley and to have Newt and Hicks on the planet either. I have Ripley, give something for Ripley to protect, and I don't know.
Could have just been in cryo the whole time.
Yeah, they could have just kept her in cryo.
Yeah, and that's that extra thing where she's trying to protect that. And what a great scene that would have been, the alien trying to get into the cryo, and she's got to stop it from getting to Newt and Hicks. It was all there.
Yeah, it could have worked. Like I said, I think that's my biggest missed opportunity of this entire movie is just at least Newt. Hicks could have died. That's fine. Not Newt. Newt should have been kept around in some way or another.
Yeah. In saying that, though, it is not a miracle, but it's really great that it at least turned out as good as it did because we know the background of it. Yeah. I'm a big fan of it. I think it's not one you should ever skip. I think you need to watch it chronologically. Yes, you are going to go, what the hell? Why did we lose our big characters? Because they really were desperate to do something different. And for the mistakes they made, they still did a pretty decent job. Fine performances, a really atmospheric feel to it. I love the set design. There's a lot to love about this film, but there's also some not to be too happy about. So, but definitely a recommendation.
It's definitely a love-hate relationship with me. I don't think it is really as bad as people say it is. It's definitely not a classic, but it's not as bad as everybody says it is. I think it's at least worth watching.
It's not a dump trunk of fire, as a lot of people have kind of have intimated over the years. I think they've just gone way too dramatic with it.
Nerds have a tendency to over-exaggerate. That's all.
A lot, don't they? We were talking about that before the show, before filming. We've got a lot of that goes around, and it's been happening a long time.
My God, did you know the Acolyte is the worst thing ever, and it's killed Star Wars?
Yeah,
that's what you guys sound like.
Yeah, and then they watched the recent episode. Everyone's quiet because it was awesome. It was a banger, and it was. You know what made it work? Because it was earned. Because we had build up to that episode, guys. Not everything had to explode and have lightsabers in every episode.
Why are we not doing a Star Wars after show?
I don't know, because we're just going to get angry and our blood pressure will go up and we'll find ourselves on medication because of it. Because we'll just get angry at Star Wars fans.
Probably. Old man yells at Star Wars fans.
Jason's versus Star Wars fans, and that's the show.
The Fandom Menace.
Yes. That's the show, the Fandom Menace. That's actually a big copyright, by the way, Jason Morgan channel. So,
yes. I'm sure somebody's probably got that.
We will find you.
I'm sure somebody's probably already got that already. Let me see. Fandom Menace. Let me see.
You have to be.
Right?
You have to.
Yeah. Well. Yes. Yep. Somebody's already got it.
There's probably Fandom Menace 114878 because that's the only. That's how many fan channels.
Fandom Menace Order 66.
Well, Jason, next week we recently tried very hard to kind of flip up the tone of this show, and so. We do something one style, we flip to it to the next. And next week...
Is this the one I think it is?
Well, I don't know. I hope it's the one...
Is it the Jeffrey Combs movie?
It's not that movie. We're saving that. We're saving that.
Well, what are we getting?
We owe one of your Patreons a movie. We've promised him for about a month now.
What are we... they're so whiny.
We go back to 84, mate, into something that isn't as scary, a little bit scary, probably for the wrong reasons. But one of the great films from your childhood, and that's The Goonies.
Ooh.
We are doing The Goonies.
Never Say Die.
Never Say Die, and that is for a Patreon member, one of our great Patreon members, Mr. Gibbons.
That's Mr. Gibbons, yes. Love you, Gibbons.
And yes, so we're delighted to go back there. Jason, however, has teased you for a film that will be coming out soon as well, after Alien Resurrection. I don't have the graphic here.
Well, we don't have to tell them what it is yet. All we're going to say is Jeffrey Combs.
That's enough said, right?
Jeffrey Combs. Everybody's out there going, oh, Reanimator. No. Jeffrey Combs.
No.
Jeffrey Combs stars in a Jeffrey Combs film written by Jeffrey Combs and guest starring Jeffrey Combs. It's Jeffrey Combs, the movie featuring Jeffrey Combs. Jeffrey Combs.
And you know he's more than capable of playing every single character in every movie ever made.
I have to tell you, I'm actually Jeffrey Combs.
And there we go, guys. That's an exclusive.
And so are you. And so is everyone watching. Combs. We are all Jeffrey Combs.
That's probably the best compliment I've had in years.
Yes.
If I was going to be compared to anyone, Jeffrey Combs would be it. I would love that. But yeah, that'll be exciting. But before we get there, Richard Donner classic. This is a film that is much loved universally, I would say. I've never met someone that's hated this film, and if I had, they won't be around long. This is a childhood favorite of mine. I can't wait.
You either love this movie or you're scum.
Or you're scum. But remember, guys, we're now going to be going one for one because we are leading up to, even though we said it doesn't get any better in the Alien franchise, we are leading up to, and we hope, another great Alien film, and that is Alien Romulus. So we've got our fingers crossed for that one. So that's what we're leading up to. That's the end game for the Alien franchise. But then we got to go all the way back to 87 and start with the Predator franchise, which I'm excited about. Oh, and also last bit of info.
I can't do the
growl. The last bit of info, we threw this back and forward. It goes like this. The Alien movies, we finish with Alien Romulus. We then do the Predator movies. And then we do Alien versus Predator and Alien versus Predator 2 Requiem.
Oh, okay, fine.
And honestly, if we were going to do this chronologically, we should have done them first.
Nah.
But then it's like Alien VP, Alien VP2. Then you go to Prometheus, which completely destroys anything to do with Alien versus Predator because it's it's a whole thing. All right, so
yeah,
that's how we're doing.
We're not gonna do that. I like to think Alien versus Predator is like in an Elseworlds universe where, nothing matters and all the points are made up.
All right, sounds great. All right, guys, we'll see you next week on the VHS Vault.
You know what they needed to do? They needed to name this alien, because if it came out of a dog, it needs a dog's name, something like Fido or
Spot,
Muffy.
Oh, Mr. Happy Pants,
Mr. Death Tongue.
Okay, we shouldn't name animals.